You gotta understand it. We're on a mission, God.
Oh, man. Well, good morning, good people. Mark Holmes here, of course, with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as the Funky Chicken. And as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. I hope everybody's having a great day. It is Saturday, and let me say that I know that the Joe Boo Sports Report has been lacking since Sunday. That was the last live stream that I did, was Sunday afternoon with the members to call in, and our first live stream since my father-in-law passed will be tomorrow at 5 o'clock Eastern. I hope you all join in. We've got a lot to talk about. I've done the best that I could to take care of family, as well as bring you up to speed with everything that's going on in the NFL. And my apologies, because last night, going back through, this week has been very, very stressful, and thank everybody for the thoughts, the prayers, flowers, and everything else that everybody has done. It's been stressful. My niece and nephew were here, and to, give them something different to do and create some memories, we went to the Afton Mountain Crozet Tunnel, which is a historic tunnel that's a mile long. It's now a park and a trail, and we walked that whole thing yesterday. My nephew, unfortunately, we sat down on the bench about a half mile up the trail, unfortunately not in the tunnel, left his cell phone. And it was nighttime when we found out that we're walking through this trail that many, many people died making with a full moon to find his cell phone. And I saw a article about Kyle, I can't pronounce his last name, the fullback from San Francisco, the 33-year-old. And because there's been so much activity in free agent signings, I thought that the Cowboys had signed the Pro Bowl All-Pro fullback. And I was mistaken. It was an article that was suggesting that the Cowboys do. I put it up, and I'm issuing an apology. I got it wrong in my effort to try and get things together. So forgive me. Now that the dust is cleared and things will get back to normal, and we've got a lot of stuff to go ahead and get in here. The thing that we have to look at here, as we as fans are not happy, because we've been teased with different players. We've seen the perfect player for the Dallas Cowboys is going to be released, or they're looking for a trade for Jonathan Allen, right? We'd take Jonathan Allen. But the reality of a Jonathan Allen signing a 3-year, $60 million contract for a guy who was a part-time player, you look at that and say, no, bro, that's too much. Or, we kept hearing the links. It seemed like everybody was, connecting the dots on Cooper Kupp, because his college coach was, of course, from Dallas, and that his dad was a backup for Troy Aikman and things like that. And so we get a little taste there and think that we're going to get Cooper Kupp. And the reality is, we heard that he was looking for like 13, 14 million. It's kind of like, bro, this is a situation where the last 3 years he's gone downhill. That's not to say that he doesn't have, tread on the tires, but you look at this and say 3 years of injuries and a big price tag, and lo and behold, he signs a contract, 3 years, $15 million a year, $45 million. You kind of say, ooh. So I don't necessarily blame the Cowboys when we're looking at a lot of big name players that are named players not signing, because we've done that before too. Not necessarily with big paychecks, but when we signed Clinton Ha Dix, we said, he was a Pro Bowler with the Bears, and he's had some decent years, right? And he couldn't make it out of training camp. You think about Gerald McCoy. Well, Gerald McCoy had played great for years with Tampa Bay, and this is a guy that was connected with the Cowboys and stuff, and was looking forward to playing, in prime time for the first time in his career. in games, and he gets injured before the season starts. We think about guys like Terry Poe. That man, he clogged the middle up like one of them big ass turds in the toilet. And you flush and it just overflows. Terry Poe was the big turd, but when he got here, he played like a big turd and didn't do anything. But that was a name that you knew. We had Emerson Griffin, who another guy, Minnesota, played great. He was okay. He was probably the best in the lot. And that's 4 guys that were named players that we signed that were kind of past their prime and didn't help us. I think the Cowboys, more than anything else, they go through, and if they get hit and miss on something, it shades them from doing anything else again. They signed the big free agent contract with Brandon Carr, and Brandon Carr was not bad, but he wasn't what they thought they were getting when they paid him. And so that got them away from, we're not signing any big free agent contracts because we didn't really get the value that we were looking for. Although, I will say this, they did bring him back. Yeah. This is another piece that's kind of interesting too. I'll get back to it in a second. And they signed Greg Hardy, who was kind of like one of those, Greg Hardy was the biggest free agent signing that we had after Brandon Carr, but that was a guy with baggage. So that one didn't work out. What's interesting is I saw, this is the clickbait time where everybody is like they were trying to connect the dots with Cooper Kupp and why it was going to work and get you excited. This is what everybody's doing, okay? Let's be clear here. There's so many people out here that are doing basically the same thing that you have to make some noise to try and get above everybody else, because you've got the legacy sports media that's there, the ESPNs and the Fox Sports ones and the Sports Illustrated and things. Then you've got the people on Twitter, of course, and trying to post that stuff. You got all of us YouTubers and things. And it's hard to get out of the noise. It just becomes like white noise of the same thing. So you have to try and, find reasons why this is the perfect player for the Cowboys and reasons why they'll get them and the reasons that it will help them be successful. And Cooper Kupp, Jonathan Allen, are definitely ones of those ilk. The thing is a lot of times it's almost like fantasy football, because you have to look at this and say, do they fit what I'm doing? Do they fit the system? Because not everybody can just plug from one place and plug into another, whether it's a 3-4 defense or a 4-3, is it a read and react, or is it a gap defense and things? And sometimes a player will play great in one system and doesn't translate to another. Then you have to look at it from the monetary standpoint. We could say we'd love to have Cooper Kupp. We would have loved to have Jonathan Allen. But between those two players, that's $105 million. And if those guys don't play to the way that you think that they're going to, and you've got Jonathan Allen, who wasn't a full-time starter anymore, and Cooper Kupp, who's been 15 games over the last 3 years, and you're tying up $105 million over the next 3 years, well, we're talking about $33 million of the cap. The Cowboys are trying to say, we're going to be better with the sheer numbers. We may not have players that are, 3 or 4 that are exceptional, but we're trying to get everybody that's really good. So when we go out on the field, we always have players that are good, that are fresh, as opposed to saying, I've got CeeDee Lamb here. He's got to play every single play, in which case he's going to get tired. Well, we haven't done anything with wide receivers, so that's probably not the best one. But when you look at our defensive front, they're getting guys with experience for once that aren't USFL guys and that aren't rookies, guys that are experienced, that have started, that can play. And their objective, I believe, is if he ends up playing a third of the snaps and he's fresh, and if this guy plays a third of the snaps and he's fresh, and if this guy does, then we've got 3 guys that are going to be going against, say, the left tackle. At some point, I'll wear that guy out. Now, I don't know if that's going to be the winner, if that's going to work, but you're still going to need some impact guys on there. But thus far, when you look at how much the Cowboys have done, they never do this much activity this early. We haven't even been a week into the league year. Legal tampering just started on Monday. We're only 5 days in. And this is the list of everybody. And I'll be real with you. I have not had time other than to say, we signed this guy, to really go through. But I'm going to say the Cowboys righted one of the many mistakes that they made last year when they literally let everybody just walk. Dante Fowler has been very, very consistent. And for the Cowboys to let him go to Washington, and he signed, they paid for 2 years. They paid $3 million on a $1 million guaranteed contract to let him go to Washington for only $250,000 more. It was only $1.4 million fully guaranteed. Wasn't a whole lot. Now, he has incentives. Now, this year, his contract, they say, is an $8 million contract. That's with all the incentives. It's not fully guaranteed at $8 million. And that was one of the ones that the Cowboys should have kept. What's interesting is, and I pointed this out when we first signed him, when he was cut from the Falcons, it was basically a money move because he had gotten a new contract, $45 million. And the Falcons' defense was bad. He was the best player on the front. And when you looked at his statistics of that last year in Atlanta, he had 4.5 sacks coming off of a 3-sack season before, after having an 11.5 sack season with the Rams. And so most people said, well, he's getting kind of older. He was 27 years old. He wasn't worth that kind of money. They released him. And people kind of said, well, he only had 4.5 sacks. But understand that there was nobody that you really worried about on the defensive line. Dante Fowler was the best player on there, which means that he got the lion's share of the work because they knew if you stop Dante Fowler, there's nobody else that's going to do any damage. And so he came to the Cowboys. In that first year, he had 6 sacks. Boom. In a rotational role. Last year, he ended up not having as many snaps, but he still had 4 sacks. So he had 10 sacks, averaged 5 sacks a year with us. He goes to Washington with Dan Quinn, and last year he had a monster year, 10.5 sacks. So we're looking at a guy over the course of the last 3 years who's had 20.5 sacks. Let's compare that to Joey Bosa, because see, this is where people will say, oh my God, we should have got Joey Bosa, right? Joey Bosa signs a mega deal, gets paid because he's a name you know. But what's interesting is, while Dante Fowler's had 20.5 sacks over the last 3 years, Joey Bosa's got, let's see, it's 11.5, 13. And on top of it, combined tackles, he's got 52 over the last 3 seasons. So you may look at this and say, oh, my God, we missed out. Man, the Cowboys don't care about winning, man. We didn't go get Joey Bosa. Well, Bosa got 13 sacks and 52 tackles over the last 3 years. Dante Fowler's got 20.5 sacks and tackles. That's 79. So you're the GM. What is the better move? What's the better move? You got to say Dante Fowler. So let's go through, if I can. Let me go through the list. And this is where the Cowboys are looking and saying that we're going to use the draft to fill in and bring in playmakers that are young. The other part of this is I think Dante Fowler may now be the oldest player on the roster at 31. And then there's Dak at 30. All the elder statesmen, the D-Laws, the Zach Martins, the Tyron Smiths, all those guys are gone. This is a much younger team that hopefully going forward will be built. Maybe this year isn't the year, but maybe the next couple of years they will be. So let's look at what we've done so far. We re-signed on a one-year deal our punter, Brian Aguilar. We re-signed Marquez Bell, 3-year deal, $12 million. We traded for Kaiir Elam with a 5th and 6th round picks from Buffalo. We re-signed Dante Fowler after wandering for a year to a 1-year, $8 million contract. We re-signed special teamer C.J. Godwin to a 1-year deal. We brought back Brock Hoffman, 1-year deal. Robert Jones, offensive lineman Robert Jones, we signed him in free agency, 1 year, $4.75 million. We got Israel McConaughey re-signed for a 1-year deal. We traded for Kenneth Murray, with a 7th round pick from the Titans. We, of course, got Osa Ndigizua done. We ended up getting Jack Sanborn, free agent, 1-year deal from the Bears. We signed Miles Sanders. I'm not sure that was a great one. We re-signed our long snapper. See, last year about this time, that's the only guy we had re-signed was our long snapper. Wanye Thomas, we re-signed. We ended up getting defensive lineman Solomon Thomas. I think that's a real good one. That one's a 2-year deal for $8 million. We got Peyton Turner, 1-year deal, $3 million, defensive end. We re-signed Kayvon Turpin. We re-signed Tavares Wheat. And we ended up getting Javonte Williams on a 1-year deal, $3.5 million. Of course, we lost DeMarcus Lawrence, who bitch-slapped us on the way out. And then Jordan Lewis, who said, I ain't cheap. Jordan Lewis literally said, I'm no bitch. I ain't no bitch. I'm no bitch. This is the polar opposite of what we did last year, because last year, what we did was we signed Eric Kendricks and Zeke Elliott, and we let everybody go. This year, well, we let go DeMarcus Lawrence, Rico, and Jordan Lewis, and we brought a whole lot in. So let's finish this off because it's getting tired, and my niece and nephew want to turn the TV back on and watch some more TV. I don't know what the hell it is that they're watching and things, but I know the guy, brother man, I always see on the commercials and the gifts. He's on that show, so I guess that's how he got famous. Anyway, let's go to Rich Eisen because the Cowboys, the drama, the gift that's always keeps giving.
A new member of the Seattle Seahawks after many years playing for the Dallas Cowboys with distinction, I might add.
For sure.
And a Dallas person through and through, also from there. So he's now with the Seattle Seahawks and had this to say when he was talking in Seattle for the first time as a member of the Seahawks.
Change the scenery is always good, but, Dallas is my home. I made my home there. My family lives there. I'm forever going to be there, but, I know for sure I'm not going to win a Super Bowl there. So, yeah.
We here. He's like, yeah, he knew what he was saying. And in this day and age, you say it to a Hawk blogger or you say it to whomever, it's going to get out. Mm-hmm. And it got out. And then it got enhanced because it got retweeted by none other than Micah Parsons, who called this what rejection and envy looks like. This some clown S.
Wow.
And then Tank responds to Micah, calling me a clown won't change the fact that I told the truth. Maybe if you spent less time tweeting and more time winning, I wouldn't have left. And that is in reference to what is truly undercurrent that you get from Dallas nonstop. I heard it at the combine. I hear it all the time. And you hear it too. Everybody hears it. Mm-hmm. Is that Micah isn't the most popular in his place of business because of a lot of the talking and the tweeting and the podcast and all of that business. And if that's at all true, if there's any truth to that, I would not that he wants my 2 cents, but he has sat in this chair, right? I once upon a time when Micah was here,
this is a fact,
swapped seats.
And he brought pizza.
I will counsel Micah to tread lightly because Tank appears to be a veteran in his early to mid-30s who is out of F's to give and is also maybe referencing the undercurrent you hear from Dallas and you see is the subtext of every Dallas is in trouble story, that the Cowboys are about winning. They're about winning championships, but they're also about making sure that the Cowboys are a cash cow. And let's have such and such move practice because there's a tennis tournament going on in the Star. Or let's have the players being looked at while they eat and work out and all that sort of business because we're going to have tours come through. And the Cowboys are more than just a football team. They're an attraction. And if that is at all true, then Tank is potentially ready to talk. And you know we're all ears when it comes to that. Mm-hmm. That said, on the other side of things, it's my opinion on it. Myles Garrett has turned me into a cynic. And potentially, Tank was one of those free agents that I heard at the Combine they were not all in on anymore. Mm-hmm. They're all out on. And Stephen Jones, even when he was talking about selective aggressivity and free agency, kind of intimated that Tank might retire. And the Cowboys didn't pay him. And Seattle did. And this does sound like a guy who didn't get the money and is now in a different spot and ready to
move on.
Well,
we already moved on.
Or lob in some verbal bouquets like that every now and then. Maybe he's just done that, and the ensuing kerfuffle of all the shows that talk about this sort of stuff might make this a one-and-done comment from Tank. Who knows? But there's some there. Don't you think? Mm-hmm. I think Damarian Overshone just recently tweeted out in the last few minutes, Cowboys versus everybody, which is
about right.
That, obviously rings.
It's about right.
Less than hollow to me because Michigan versus everybody did lead to a natty.
I mean, I've had that T-shirt for years, Cowboys versus everybody. But look, man, as if, okay, he's not that well liked. Well, Michael Jordan wasn't the most well-liked. I'm not comparing Michael Jordan to Micah Parsons. Just saying
You're saying that you can win with a star player who rubs people the wrong way, potentially.
By the way, you wouldn't want to. You'd want Michael. You want everybody to get along.
If I may be different, if I may push back.
Okay.
Michael was the red ass to his teammates, as he said in The Last Dance, because he was pulling people when they didn't want to be pulled. Mm-hmm. And he was all about winning. He wasn't podcasting. Michael didn't have anything with Bleacher Report. You know what I mean? So there's a different thing. But I do have this certificate here that still is unsigned. There's a notary sitting over there with his equipment.
I'm going to hide that, by the way.
I'm starting to think I should have put an expiration date on there.
You shouldn't have made it. That's the first. Your first error was
making it. 25-26 season.
So that technically is an expiration.
So that's the next 2 years, basically. It's not like the NBA where it bleeds one into the next. It's still these are two. It's a 2 season.
Don't
release.
do it.
Just wait to see where Arch goes, TJ.
You know what I mean? No,
So what are your thoughts? I guess Tommy in Washington wanted to know.
What are my thoughts?
Here, bring Tommy back on. Is Tommy there? Is Tommy still there? Tommy, you still there? You still there in Yakima? Are you still in Yakima?
After all that?
Are you in Tacoma now? I mean, I did talk a while.
He might be in Portland at this point.
I'm almost at Ellensburg at this point.
Okay,
but yeah,
all right. Now talk to Tommy. Give Tommy his answer.
So your question, Tommy, was how do I feel about this?
Yes.
Okay. Well, if you watch the show, you know I've said for years that I feel at this point the Cowboys as an organization are more worried about the brand of the Dallas Cowboys than the football team, the Dallas Cowboys.
True.
I don't understand a lot of the moves that they make. I don't know why we wait to pay players so long, costing them extra money. But also with Tank Lawrence, right? I like Tank Lawrence. Great Cowboy for his time there. But he was also a guy who, after a playoff game, went on a national show and said we were tired. Like, you can't come out and say, like, you were tired at the end of the season and that's why you lost. You know, and as far as the podcast stuff goes, I don't know, Rich, is that big of a deal
I wouldn't know.
In the locker room?
I honestly, I'm not in there. I don't know.
A pulse more than any of us do.
But Micah, again, Tank is basically saying to Micah that he's not all. I mean, I don't know. Is there a play where you could see he gets beat or he takes a play off and you're like, you know what? If he didn't
do the
spend
podcast,
Tuesday
he would
getting ready for his podcast,
he would have gotten
he would have
that
actually won that rep.
Yes,
like I don't know how. You know what I mean? Like I don't know how.
it
the manifests in that way.
Yeah.
And also, I'm sorry. Go ahead,
Tommy.
Sorry, but to kind of cut you guys off there, the question isn't really as far as would the podcasting lend itself better to the Dallas Cowboys doing better, which obviously it wouldn't because people have their free time and hobbies as far as just doing stuff outside of football. It's more of Tank getting at the point that, the Cowboys are not going anywhere. And holding on, I mean, this is just me reading more into the situation, but holding on to players like Micah Parsons and C.D. Lamb and all that is kind of to the detriment of the Cowboys.
No, I don't know about that. But what's to the detriment of the Cowboys, I think, and Tommy, thank you for the call. Appreciate it.
Well done.
Drive safely. Keep your head on a swivel and your hands on 10 and 2. Is signing these guys late.
Yep.
That's where it kills you.
How does that affect the team?
Yeah.
In terms of building the roster. Because you're sitting here seeing,
And just creating anxiety.
Dude, it's just like the Cowboys are the only ones paying a quarterback $60 million. The Cowboys are one of 2 teams paying a receiver over $34 million. The Cowboys waited to a point where if they had signed Micah Parsons when they could have gotten him for low to mid 30s. Now it's going to be 40. And you're watching other teams make splashes, and potentially the reason why there is no splash is because they're making the splashes too big for their salary cap because they're waiting too damn long. I don't know. Ways around it. But I guess in advance of the what's more likely we're about to do, what is more likely? Seattle or the Cowboys?
Winning the Super Bowl?
Go further. And right.
Okay, neither
How about
one of
just
these.
go
I'm going to say the
Neither one of
Cowboys
those
for
teams are
now.
winning the Super Bowl. Let's just be honest.
I'll still take Dallas.
I'll
go
have to say
further?
Dallas.
Yeah.
Yes.
To win a playoff game? Yeah.
Well, I guess it depends on how much you feel Sam is ready to go there.
I'm also looking at what's around them. I like Dallas a little bit more.
Well, let's see what Seattle does on that. What if they sign Cooper Kupp to go with Jackson Smith and Jigba and have those 2 running backs?
They did.
And they keep beefing up that line and they get another player.
What if Dallas
Of
takes
note on either side
What
of
if
the ball.
Dallas gets Ashton Genty?
I don't think they're gonna.
Because he doesn't
It's
fall
all
to them,
correct.
or he doesn't make it to 12.
Heck yeah.
Okay.
Heck yeah. But that would be a splash on draft night. They trade up and go get him.
Yes.
There you go. All righty, good people. So you see, the Cowboys, the gift that keeps on giving. As always, I appreciate you guys, and I appreciate that you guys have bared with me through this week. But I got to get out of here.
Stand more. I gotta get out of here. I've gotta get out of here. Down, get a hold of yourself.
Please let me handle this.
Calm down. Now get back to your seat. I'll take care of this guy. Calm down. Get a hold.
Oh, do you want another phone? Everything's all right.
Sister, calm down, man.